Hello, hello. What's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for tuning in. Interesting times to be alive. For those of you that don't know, and for those of you that can't see it, my name is Will Johnson, and we are live. It is July the 8th, 2025. The year is just going by. It's just zipping by. I mean, it's just flying. And I think part of that reason why everything is flying by so fast is because things are moving so quick. President Trump is not playing around this time around. He's on his A game. And of course, all of the radical leftist lunatics are mad about it. Okay, so if you're watching right now, you're live right now, please hit that thumbs up for me. No matter how you're watching this, hit the hearts on Facebook. And if you would, I would greatly appreciate it. I would greatly appreciate it. If you would, by all means, share the video. Share the video. Okay, let's get right into this. LA is basically a war zone, and the war zone that's happening is that the Democrats are fighting against ICE. Now, President Trump is only going after hardcore criminals. And what's happening is that when President Trump sends ICE members to pick up these hardcore criminals and they're apprehending them, they're finding them with other illegal aliens. And what's happening is that they're picking them up as well. So, oh, wait a minute, you're on the list. You're here illegally. You were here with this guy that committed these horrific crimes. Guess what? You're going too. And the Democrats are saying that these are innocent people. They're saying that President Trump is just randomly picking people up off the street and deporting them. Randomly. They're even saying that President Trump is picking American citizens up off the street and deporting them, which is a total lie. Now, what I see happening in the future, and I've said this before, and I want to make sure I say this again for those that never heard me even mention this, and I'm pretty sure many of you, maybe some of you have thought about this, that you remember, and I'm going to bring it up like this. You remember when President Trump was in office last time and he did this Operation Warp Speed? You remember that? And he wanted to give people an option, right? He wanted to give people an option for the Kool-Aid, but like if you feel that you really needed it, then by all means go ahead and get it. President Trump didn't force anybody to drink the Kool-Aid at all. And what happened was when Joe Biden and the Democrats took over, they end up forcing Americans to drink the Kool-Aid. Do you understand what I'm going at here? It's the same thing. President Trump is getting rid of the illegal criminals, the hardcore criminals. He created a facility called Alligator Alcatraz. Right? There's a facility called Alligator Alcatraz, and they're putting these hardcore criminals there. Right? They're putting the hardcore criminals there. Well, what's end up happening, or what I believe is going to happen in the future, and I hope that I'm wrong, and I don't want this to be the case, but I believe that what's going to end up happening is that the Democrats are going to take advantage of what President Trump has done. And what they're going to do is they're going to have their screaming right now. They're kicking and screaming that it is Americans that they're picking up off the streets of America. And they're lying to everybody, right? They're lying. And while they're saying that they're picking Americans up off the streets of America, not actually happening when they get in a position. I'm trying to lay this out as simple as possible. Not that you don't understand, but what's going to end up happening is that they are going to say that President Trump was deporting American citizens and you said nothing about it. And I believe that they're actually going to start picking up American citizens if they ever get back into power. Now, I don't want this to be the case. I hope it never happens. But just like President Trump came up with Operation Warp Speed, the Democrats took advantage of that. And then they forced people to try to drink the Kool-Aid. You couldn't go to work. You couldn't even go to the movie theaters. Some restaurants said you have to show your Kool-Aid papers in order to go sit in the restaurant. Y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. So because they did that, many people, because they didn't want to lose their jobs, they drink the Kool-Aid. They took advantage of what President Trump was doing. And President Trump only did it to make it an option, but the Democrats took it the next level. They took it to the next step, to the next stage. They took it to the next stage, and where it brings us to where we are now. Where before they were forcing them, and then if they ever get back into power, they're going to do the same thing. They're going to repeat it. They are going to say, well, President Trump was forcing Americans to be deported. So when we do it, don't say anything. Am I wrong? What do you think? Am I wrong? I'm telling you right now, this is exactly what they're going to do. This is exactly how they're going to push this. They're going to say, well, President Trump was deporting American citizens. You said nothing, and he was just randomly picking people up. And then what's really going to happen, we're going to see like the 1930s, truly the 1930s style Germany in the United States of America, because the Democrats, as soon as they find out that you supported President Trump, that you love America, they're going to pick people up. They were talking about putting us as American citizens in camps because of the way we think. I remember, and I'm kind of kicking myself, and I'm like, man, I wish I could have found that video. I wish I could have found that video where Hillary Rodham Clinton was talking about Christians. Christians are the thing that's holding America back. She was saying this. This was during like 2015. I'm like, I couldn't believe that she was saying it. And then in some cases, there's been other Democrats come out and say that, well, we should really consider removing MAGA Republicans, conservatives from society, putting them in a facility somewhere until they can be reprogrammed, and then let them back out into society. And President Trump is not doing that with radical leftist lunatics. He's not doing that at all. President Trump is only going after those that have harmed children, those have run drugs into the country, those that have taken the lives of American citizens that are not illegal, that are not even American citizens, they're illegals in the country. This is who President Trump is going after. But the Democrat Party, they're fighting. They are straight up fighting. The Democrats never fought this hard for anybody. The last time the Democrats fought this hard for something is when Abraham Lincoln removed their slaves. That's the last time they fought hard for anything like this. The last time. So here it is again, President Trump being another Republican president. He's removing what basically, this is the reason why they're fighting. They're not fighting. They're not fighting because they want these people to, to live innocent lives or to live righteous lives or to live, where they're not committing crime. They're fighting for them because the Democrats see them as their base. And I've talked about it so many times, and the story's gone everywhere. Everyone has already heard this, that the Democrats have used these people that they brought into the country for the census report. And President Trump, he's targeting that. And they feel threatened by it, the Democrats. How dare he remove our base? See, the base for President Trump is the American people. And I know Elon Musk is saying that he's trying to create a third party, what have you. There's going to be a couple people, like, remember when 2016 happened, you had the Never Trumpers. Remember, Ted Cruz had the Never Trumpers, and it was roughly about 4% or so. And it's the same thing again. These are the same people that were Never Trumpers before, and now they have a reason to be Never Trumpers again. You understand? That's all that is. And Elon Musk is like, okay, yeah, we'll create a Never Trump. That's what they should call it, the Never Trumper Party. I mean, really, let's just be real about it. Call it the Never Trumper Party, because that's who the people supporting this. And of course, the Democrats love it because it's causing division, right? Because President Trump brought everybody together. But the Democrats, they know that if President Trump removes their base, remove the element that they've been using. Of course, the Democrats just said, well, they can't vote. And of course, they go, it's against the law for them to vote. Of course, it's against the law for them to vote. But the Democrats don't care. The Democrats know that they can't vote. They'll even say it's against the law. But see, the Democrats use them for the census report to count them. And which in return adds up for the Electoral College and the seats that the Democrats have. Why do you think that they moved all of these, great deal of them, majority of them, California, New York, Chirac, which is Chicago, and other blue states and blue cities, mind you. They moved them to these locations because they wanted those numbers to help them when it came time for people doing the census report, for them getting their seats. See, President Trump, he's about to eliminate that. And I think really what should happen, and I guarantee it, if Congress said, okay, when we do the census report, President Trump said, if we do the census report and a bill comes up for Congress to debate on it and to vote on it, that only American citizens can be counted in the census report, or have two different census reports. One consisting of Americans, which is based with the Electoral College will be based on, and then have another census report showing how many people are not American citizens. The Democrats will come up with every excuse, oh, this is racist, or they'll say, this is going to harm something, discrimination. They'll make up some reason to try to say this is a bad idea, it is actually a great idea. If you want to count them, see, the Democrats have utilized this system and they've broken it for so many years because they know they've been able to manipulate it. This is all what this is all about. They've been able to manipulate it. Everybody sees it, everybody knows. And a lot of people just learning this is the reason why the Democrats want all these illegals in the country. They're not fighting for them because they're, humanity. They're lying when they say that. They're lying. Because if they talked about humanity, then they would want these people to follow the law. So then that humanity is not being attacked. Our children are safe. But they're not fighting for that. They can care less about the children getting harmed. They demonstrate it all the time. And right now, the way the Democrats have been pushing this, you have armed vigilantes, armed Democrat vigilantes physically trying to end the life of ICE agents. You understand what I'm telling you? They're trying to end the life of ICE agents. You understand what's happening here? And the Democrats, just like the Summer of Love, they were advocating for the violence across America. And see, they're advocating for it again. Except for this time, they want the violence to go from here to there, off the screen. They see this as the last opportunity. I'm telling you right now, they may not be saying it out loud, but what President Trump is doing to this country has all of them so angry, so mad, because he's putting the country back on the right track. They're so angry about it. They're willing to go have you ever heard that say the expression by any means necessary? This is the Democrat Party. They have this whole saying, by any means necessary. What does that mean? And now ICE agents doing their jobs, picking up hardcore criminals, mind you, are having to dodge bullets now because of what the Democrats have advocated for. The Democrats advocated for this violence that we're seeing in the country. The last 4 years before President Trump came in office, how many times did you see Christians, conservatives, MAGA Republicans, extreme MAGA Republicans? How many times did you see them going and marching and destroying police vehicles, destroying buildings, attacking people in the streets? How many times did you see that? How many times did you see that? Did you see it day after day? Did you see them going to different cities doing it? No. Were they in LA doing it? Absolutely not. Were they in Chicago? No. New York? No. Texas? Oklahoma? Arkansas? Nevada? Idaho? Utah, Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina. I mean, did we see it at all? Absolutely not. It didn't happen. But the party that is advocating for all of this violence that we're seeing in the country, oh, but it's mostly peaceful. These are just people out here protesting peacefully. They're out there protesting. They're not causing any harm to anybody. They're just peacefully protesting. And then they go, well, you know, it's a couple of people, pockets of people. It's all of them. Not just some of them. It's all of them. And they're all advocating for it because not a single one of them saying, look, we should be supporting ICE. ICE is going and they're actually picking up these hardcore criminals. This is who we should be supporting. Are any of them saying that? Have you heard any of them say that? Like, look, we need to calm this down and we need to assist ICE. You have the governor of California saying that he's going to basically fight ICE. And then you have Mayor Bass, the commie mayor in LA, telling ICE they need to get out right now. Come on, people. You can't make this stuff up. And I'm sitting there looking at this and I'm thinking, I'm like, my goodness, this is like really spiritual here. It really is. You know, when I first started doing videos, I would constantly say that people were seeing people with a reprobate mind. And a lot of people didn't know what that meant. And in the Bible, it tells us that people will be, God, he will let them just go so far that he will turn them over to a reprobate mind. And what that means, for those of you that don't know, is that a reprobate mind means that all of the wicked and evil things that they are doing in their minds, they believe is justified. They believe it is good. And some people start questioning, well, is ICE actually picking up innocent people? Is ICE actually doing wrong here? And see, people are questioning themselves about what's happening. And that's the time that we're living in because this great deception is happening. So people that are simple and weak-minded, they believe all the nonsense that ICE is just randomly picking up people, deporting American citizens. They believe this nonsense. And the way you can always determine if you're on the right side or on the wrong side, which is the left, is by how the left, they're actually advocating and fighting for people that hurt the most innocent of us all, children. They're fighting for the monsters that hurt children. That should be right there. So, okay. That should answer all of your questions about who's doing what. Y'all understand what I'm saying? Are y'all with me on that? Because I'm telling you, you can talk to some people and I'm like, but ICE is just that's picking up American citizens. They deported this little girl. She's an American citizen. No, the parents wanted the little girl to go with them. If I went to another country, they would deport me, especially if I snuck in. Name one country that I can go to that they would not deport me. And if I had children there, and I'm like, I want my children to go with me. And then the people, oh my goodness, they deported the person from Canada, or whatever it is, whatever country it is. No, I would take the child with me. They leave that key detail out. But that's how they do everything. When the media, when the left, they tell a story, they'll leave out key details on what's actually happening. So then that way they can paint a narrative to get people that believe the nonsense that they're putting out there to just believe what they want them to believe. It is such a manipulation game. And the fact that they don't realize that they're being manipulated is, to me, mind-blowing. Let me share this report with you. Listen to this. The Democrats, they want war. They want chaos. They want animosity in America. Every single Democrat should be speaking out against people trying to bring harm to law enforcement in this country.
That was according to the Department of Homeland Security spokesman. We got multiple teams working this story as we learn more about this breaking news, but apparently a man showed up to this facility this morning with tactical gear and a rifle, opening fire on those agents at the front. Fire was returned. Dozens of shots was fired, and we have confirmed that man was killed in this. He's been identified as Ryan Lewis, 27 years old. But as we show you these images, obviously very concerning. This man with a rifle and that tactical gear showing up. You can see the image of him down right there. Multiple shots fired. We have a confirmed statement that this morning an individual opened fire at the entrance of the United States border sector annex in McAllen, Texas. That was according to the Department of Homeland Security spokesman. We do know this is an ongoing investigation. One of the officers involved in this was shot in the knee, so that officer will need medical attention, but we're told will be in stable condition and okay. But right now, a very concerning situation with this man, Ryan Lewis, 27, apparently with a Michigan address, several other weapons and backpacks and gear inside his car, showing up and opening fire this morning. No news yet, Wolf, of whether or not there was any sort of manifesto or any kind of message left behind, but this shooting did happen in the last few hours.
So do you think, now I wish I had his response to what he said about that. He probably wouldn't say anything about saying, are we going to start seeing Democrats supporting ICE? I guarantee that they didn't say any of that. Guarantee it. He probably just said, well, okay, thank you for the reporting and move on and say, well, the reason why this is happening is because of Trump. That's the reason why this is happening, because of Trump. If Trump would just allow the illegal criminals to roam free and terrorize American people, this wouldn't be happening. They've actually said that. They've actually said that if President Trump would just, Mayor Bass actually said it. If President Trump would just remove them, this wouldn't be happening in our city. Well, if you would have done your job, it wouldn't be happening in your city either. Again, they leave out the key detail. Here's Mayor Bass here, where she gets on the phone and she's saying, I think she's talking to the commissioner of, what is it? It's on the tip of my tongue. Let me see. I cannot remember. Is it not in the title there? She's talking to the, I can't remember. She's going to say it here. She's going to say it, but not in this clip. In the next clip, she's going to say it. It's like on the tip of my tongue. I can't believe I can't remember it right now. They say the first thing that goes to mind. Let's waste it. But listen, watch this. There's no audio in this, so you can leave it split screen. Because here she's just getting the cell phone. Right? They hand her the cell phone, and then she starts walking. And they're wondering, because she's on here, she's talking to someone about them trying to get ICE to get out. And here's the clip where someone was talking to her, where she actually says who she was talking to. Listen.
I am going to say.
Mayor Bass, I need to get my phone and we're departing.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Aaron Bass?
Mayor Bass.
Any comment, Mayor Bass?
Thank you.
Mayor Bass, any comment?
Yes, my comment is they need to leave, and they need to leave right now. They need to leave because this is unacceptable.
Who did you speak with?
Just wait and see.
Mayor Bass, who did you speak with on the phone just now? Who did you speak with on the phone? Wow.
Could you hear it, Shannon? She says the head of customs. She spoke to the head of customs. So it's basically saying that they need to go. They need to leave. LA is a war zone right now. LA is a war zone. And the only reason why it is this way is because the Democrats will not assist ICE in removing hardcore criminals from the streets of LA. They won't help them. They want to make sure that the violence stays. And you know what? Part of the reason why they're not helping ICE and they're actually fighting against ICE is because they want to look like victims. Like, oh my goodness, President Trump he's sending these soldiers and to innocent people and harming us all, trying to make President Trump look like he's the one in 1930s. But if they just did their jobs and got rid of the criminals, none of this would be happening. Like, look at this. Here's an example. Can you bring this up for me? Here's an example of them in the park, right? Look at this. President Trump, ICE, sending in these military personnel and are on horseback.
Yeah. This is MacArthur Park in LA. It's a well-known place where MS-13 does business.
Yeah.
A lot of illegals hang out there.
And you know what? They know that they do business there.
Yes.
And the LA police did nothing to prevent it, didn't stop it. It's like, oh, it's off limits for them to go into. But President Trump is saying, no, get rid of them. They got to go.
Yeah. So Karen Bass, she hears that they're down there and she leaves her office to go tell them, ICE, to leave her city, to leave the park. And I'm sitting here going, she has no authority over them. No authority. She has no authority to ask them to leave. Their sanctuary city does not supersede the federal law. Federal law and state law, while states can have their own laws, state laws cannot be in direct contrast to federal laws. In that case, federal law wins. And she feels emboldened to go out there and interrupt a federal operation. I mean, and here's the thing, Will. What happens in these situations is people go, oh, look, they're going to interrupt and nothing is happening to them. And so I'm going to go too, because obviously if the mayor of LA is doing it, it is lawful, right?
Well, that's the way they're looking at it, right?
And that's how they look at it.
Yeah.
And that's how they're going to justify it with the local police. And then my question is, unless ICE, who's working, they have a whole completely different job that they're working on right now. And if you don't have the police department backing them up to help control these people, you're being taken away from your job. I mean, it creates a very dangerous situation.
Yeah, it really does. And, you know, it's not even almost. They are advocating for this violence. If she would have done her job in the first place, we wouldn't even be talking about this. It wouldn't even be a story. If they would have just done their jobs in the first place and got these criminals off the streets of America. The Democrats are fighting for criminals. They're fighting for criminals. And you know what, Shannon? You hear some Democrats say, look, fine. If they're going after people who's breaking the law and they're hardcore criminals, then they'll say, well, we support that. We support that, right? They say that. But they actually don't. The reason why that they're fighting for these hardcore criminals to remain in the United States of America, to remain free, running around in the United States of America, you know why? Is because they know that once they get all of these hardcore criminals off the streets of America, guess who's next? Guess who's next? The other criminals that broke the law simply by coming into the country.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's still a criminal. You know what? And they try to say, oh, these are law-abiding citizens. No.
They need to stop calling them immigrants and they need to stop calling them migrants. These people are illegal aliens.
They are.
They literally came across our border.
Illegally. Not legally, but illegally. That's how they came across the border. And the Democrats are fighting for them. And again, it's all about the census report. It's about having their numbers. And President Trump is removing that. Well, here's a scene that you can see how, like you just mentioned, Shannon, how all of them were gathering because of Mayor Bass and because of the Democrats putting it out there to fight ICE. Yeah, none of them are saying we need to assist ICE. They're saying fight ICE.
Yeah, she literally did an announcement saying that she was going down there, right? And so, of course, the media, they're ready. I mean, they go down there too, and they're like, she's going down there to confront ICE.
Yeah.
So as soon as she gets down there, she's surrounded by media, and the ICE agents are now being disrupted by her.
Yeah,
And
because now they have because they have to protect her, and and then they have to look at around all the other people. I mean, that's the way it happens.
it's almost like she's giving the illegals an opportunity to get away while she distracts ICE.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. But listen to this. This was footage from a helicopter that was on the scene catching all of this.
See if we can hear anything. This is a live look from the helicopter, so it is unlikely, but let's just try.
This is where we are. This is really the altitude where we're at. This is the 2X. This is just the glass, and then when I hit the digital doubler, we lose resolution. All right.
The camera guy didn't know he was live.
Yeah, that's the digital doubler. That's what you're seeing. You're cutting the resolution down. And that actually, according to the machine, is sharp.
So look at all the
So
ICE
we are
members.
hearing from the helicopter operator right there, and it does sound like he is answering some questions that we don't hear. But this is some breaking news out of Los Angeles as a federal immigration enforcement operation is currently underway. You see a large crowd right there. LA Mayor Karen Bass is at the center of this large crowd. As you can see, some of the tankers right there on the street in LA. And according to Fox News correspondent Bill Malugin, this is an operation in the MacArthur Park area of LA, an area that he says has a heavy MS-13 influence. Mayor Bass right there demanding that the raids stop. And you can see that it's getting a little physical right there as the crowd is kind of pushing towards this police vehicle. You can also see on the right-hand side of your screen some of these federal agents in their gear right there with their helmets on, with their vests. So it does appear perhaps that Mayor Bass is getting into this vehicle as she was surrounded by the media as well as a number of individuals. So, we haven't heard yet whether she plans to make a statement or not, but this is coming in to our Live Now from Fox Studios. As you can see, the armored tank right there with some of the military and federal agents as they have boarded this. This is all part of an immigration enforcement operation happening right now in LA. We have been covering this issue for weeks now, bringing you these live looks from Los Angeles after some of these anti-ICE protests turned very violent. And we were hearing from LA Mayor Karen Bass on a daily basis as she was criticizing these raids, criticizing President Trump and his immigration policies. So we did see her get out of her vehicle, surrounded. She's demanding a stop to these raids as you continue to see this large convoy of federal agents and military in this area of Los Angeles. We're going to continue to monitor this. And of course, we will bring you any updates as they do come in. No word yet on whether Mayor Bass will address this or not. But
so did you hear her? She even reported saying that this area is known to be controlled by MS-13, and Mayor Bass went out of her way. She went out of her way to defend MS-13, saying, ICE, you need to leave. Are there any videos of Mayor Bass going down to this park telling MS-13 that they have to leave? Are there any videos of that? I would go and say, no, we know there isn't. Which just goes to prove the point that they're actually out there fighting for MS-13. Fighting for MS-13. Okay, we're going to go to a extremely quick break. And when we come back, I want to show you some of the reports of how ICE members are being physically attacked, even more so. when we come
Life
back.
can be pretty unpredictable, filled with good days and not so good days. And sometimes, the only difference between the two is your level of preparedness. The Jace case lets you be better prepared for whatever comes your way. It contains antibiotics and other prescription medications so that you aren't caught unprepared. With a Jace case, you are able to get your prescription medication before the unpredictable happens, allowing you to turn those not so good days into great ones. Go to jace.com now and get your own Jace case.
So let me just show this to you really quick before I go to this next clip I want to share with you. This is the Jace case. Jace, go to jace.com. And don't forget, use promo code WILL. This is a kit where you can go and tell them the different things that you need in your lifetime.
Yeah, it's emergency medical kit.
Emergency medical kit. And, you know, there's different medical, people have different medical needs. Now, this is something you're not just talking to a random person. You're actually going to talk to a physician, a pharmacist about the different medication that you need. And I recommend this because I love the fact that it comes in this small case and it's for different things that I would consider. The one I have is considered for different things that I would need, like in a time of major crisis, whether it's Democrat made or natural made.
No, it's for infections, it's for painkillers, it's for, certain things like if you're on a trip. There's a basic pack like the one you have. But then, like you said, you can get a more specialized, tailored ones added to it. And they can give you, I think, up to 3 months prescription in emergency situations. So it's something to add to your food emergency, to your roadside emergency kit. It's a great thing to take on a trip, especially if you're driving across country or long distance. So I would check it out, jace.com, promo code WILL for 10% or $10 off. So go check them out.
Yep, go check it out. Okay, listen to this report. And this should be alarming to everybody. Because if they're willing to do this to people upholding the law, imagine what the Democrats would do to people who want to support the law.
We're here to tell you that late at night on July 4th, Friday night at approximately 10:37 p.m., at the Prairieland ICE Detention Center in Alvarado, Texas, 10 to 12 individuals dressed in black military-style clothing began shooting fireworks and engaging in acts of vandalism at the facility. And this was part of an organized attack. Today, my office has charged 10 individuals with 3 counts of attempted murder of a federal officer. Each of the 10 are also charged with 3 counts of discharging a firearm in relation to a crime of violence. Each of these defendants faces a mandatory prison term of 10 years and up to life in prison. An additional co-conspirator was charged with obstruction of justice and conspiracy for attempting to conceal and destroy evidence in relation to the attack, and he faces up to 10 years in prison. Let's discuss the incident. It was a planned ambush with the intent to kill ICE corrections officers. Make no mistake, this was not a so-called peaceful protest. It was indeed an ambush.
It was indeed an ambush. I mean, come on, people. Come on. Did you see any of this the 4 years before Trump came back into office? Did you see any of this happening like this? I mean, come on. How many times when the people that went to the schools, who were they? They were radical leftists. And of course, anytime some violent crime happens, the Democrats, without any evidence of anything, they come out and they say, oh, look at this MAGA Republican. And then when everybody finds out that it was a radical leftist, the story goes away. The story goes away. But of course, because they put it out there from the get-go, put the lie out there, and they get people to believe that, when the truth comes, people will still believe the lie. They're targeting ICE members. And if they actually want all of this to de-escalate, if they actually want the tensions to come down, I'm talking about the radical left, because see, they don't, if they actually want it, then they will support ICE. Let's make sure that we're only going to get these hardcore criminals, because President Trump, Tom Homan, even Pam Bondi, which we're not going to talk about Pam Bondi right now, but Tom Homan has made it clear. He says, look, we're only going after the hardcore criminals. That's who we're going after. We're going after the ones, the Trey de Agua, MS-13, the most violent people. We're going after them. Those that have a record, because they know who they are, where they are, and they're going and searching for them. And because they find them and they're apprehending them to remove them out of the country, then all the Democrats go, how dare you pick them up? They want chaos in the streets of America. And they're all trying to act like they're victims, and they're not. Here's another report on this. Oh, really? Okay. We're going to cut this because I'm just being told that President Trump is live, and we're going to go to him.
Subsidy. He said energy shouldn't need subsidy. You should make money with energy. So when the other one is the solar, those big solar fields, they're taking our farmland. Our farmers are like mortified by it. They hate it. It's very, very inefficient and very ugly too. You know, probably better than a windmill, but you go around and you see all these things that are 3 miles long by 3 miles wide, and you say, what the hell is that? And it's a lot of plastic from China. It's plastic, black plastic from China. No, we don't. We want to be smart. We're going with. Look, China right now is building 58 coal-fired plants, 58 big ones. They have 62 on the books to build. We've reintroduced clean, beautiful coal, because you know you can do a lot with coal now. Clean, beautiful coal, and natural gas, and all of the other things that we have. But we don't want wind, and we don't want solar, because they're a blight on our country. They hurt our country very badly, and smart countries don't use it. Solar sounds good, I will say, and I like, on occasion, you'll see a roof which is made out of solar brick, but it's a smaller use. We need the kind of thing that's going to fire up our plants, and it's not going to be wind, you know, that is very intermittent, as you probably know. But they've spent a fortune. They've spent trillions of dollars on this stuff, and I'll just give you one other story. A friend of mine is a very successful guy. He went back to see his mother in Minnesota, hadn't seen her in a long time, and he wasn't back for 10 years, which isn't a nice story. I mean, you don't see your mother for 10 years. She's got some difficulties, which I know the guy, he does have some difficulties. He's very successful, but probably not the nicest person. It was actually longer than 10 years, but he went back and he told me he wanted to go and look at the valley. There's a valley in Minnesota that he thought was so beautiful. And I hadn't seen it in a long time. He's driving along the road. He said, oh my, I'll use the word gosh, oh my gosh. He said, oh. He said, it looked like a junkyard. You had 159 windmills. They were all over the place. Some were old, some were newer, different companies, different shapes, different sizes, different colors. Many of them were terminated. Terminated meaning closed. You can't take them down because the environmentalists don't let you bury the blades because they're made out of a fiber they say is bad for the earth. So they want you to put them up, but they don't let you take them down. But many of them were turned off. He said it looked like a junkyard. Go to Palm Springs, California, and take a look at that pile of junk. And you go into a wealthy neighborhood. Before you get there, you have to ride through hundreds of windmills that are, most of them are turned off. They're rotting, they're rusting, they're 30 years old, 20 years old. And they have a very short life. You know, those windmills have a very short life, especially the ones that are in the nice salty Atlantic Ocean and Pacific Ocean, where the salt just gets under that steel and decimates it. No, it's a horrible, horrible thing for our country. And I speak out. It would be nice to say wind, because it sounds so good, doesn't it, Doug? Wind, wind. But it's not. It's these ugly machines, and they're all made, you got to see, some are a little taller, a little shorter. They're made by different companies. They have different stocks. They have different blades. They have different everything. It is so horrible. And if you look at smart countries, they don't use it. Smart countries don't use it. And we're now a smart country. We're a brilliant country. We're not smart. We're brilliant now. We're going to be a brilliant country. We have to be, because we have to catch up for some really stupid people that did a bad job. Yes, Brian?
Yes, Mr. President, I've got a quick comment, some feedback as a native Texan, someone that I grew up bringing my kids to a camp very near the affected camp now. Thank you on behalf of Texas. I've gotten hundreds of messages that want to thank. If you're in the cabinet room, you can tell the president and his team on behalf of Texans, thank you so much for the quick response and the loving and the hugs. I saw that you gave. Two quick questions.
I saw a Palestinian senator. His name is Schumer. He's a great Palestinian. No, he's a Palestinian. He's become a Palestinian. He's abandoned the Jews. But I saw him say, it's Trump's fault. Yeah, that's right. It's Trump's fault. He was actually, do you ever see John Lovitz, The Liar? Where he goes, yeah, I went to Harvard. That's right. This was Schumer. He goes, yeah, it's Trump's fault. That's right, it's Trump. I actually saw that stupid guy try and blame it on me, and I said, man, that's a tough one to take. But his career is limited, because I hear AOC is going to beat him, and she's no bargain either, by the way. Go ahead.
Well, I'm just saying that's an example of an America First team effort to get this country back. So that's what America First looks like for the viewers watching us at home. My two questions. It looks like we have a rogue judge, an Obama-backed rogue judge that is attempting to block the funding to Planned Parenthood, which the big, beautiful bill cuts off the funding to Planned Parenthood. Any plans to challenge that?
Good.
Absolutely. Yes, we're on it. We're on it. And I texted, I believe, I talked to yesterday Secretary Lutnick and Secretary Besson. I reached out to you to let you know that we were on it in the big, beautiful bill.
Wonderful. And then
I let her handle that question. Did you notice? I said, go ahead, handle that question.
I'll toss it to her. Then my second question for Secretary Rollins. You did an amazing press conference today in front of the Department of Agriculture. You talked about the Farm Act and the need to get China out of our country, owning farmland. For the viewers at home that might have missed that, can you recap what that means to national security to make sure we can grow our own food?
Well, thank you, Brian, sir, if you don't mind. Yes, this morning, Secretary Hegseth, Secretary Noem, and Attorney General Bondi and I had a press conference at the USDA. I just happened to have a chart in case it came up, but obviously the Chinese owning of farmland in our country is a massive national security issue. And for the media, you can see the yellow is where all of the farms have been purchased over the last number of years, and the red is around all of the military bases where that farmland has been purchased. So this is a massive national security issue. The press conference this morning included 3 of our greatest governors as well, Sarah Sanders from Arkansas, Jim Pillen from Nebraska, and Bill Lee from Tennessee. The states have begun taking a leadership role to ban the purchasing of China farmland. Obviously, Congress needs to step up and catch up, and we're going to be working alongside of them as well. We had some of our members, great members of Congress there, but it is time. And I think that this morning was symbolic of many things. The first, of this administration working every day to effectuate President Trump's leadership and unequivocal support of America First. But second, just how close we are as a cabinet. I don't know in any other administration that you'd have 4 cabinet members at the USDA on a Tuesday morning when it's about 110 degrees outside with the sun beating down on us talking about, sir, your vision. So I think it was a great day. It was just the start. There's an executive order coming and some other things coming behind that. But protecting America's farms isn't just about protecting our farmers. It's also about national security. So that's what we discussed this morning.
I do want to say that I think we have had a really good relationship with China lately. And We're getting along with them very well. They've been very fair on our trade deal, honestly. And I hope we're going to have a great relationship. It's a big, strong, powerful country. We're more powerful than they are. We have much better military equipment than they do. But we are getting along with them very well. I'm getting along with President Xi very well. We speak often. And with all of that being said, and I understand what you're saying, but I think we're getting along with China very well.
Mr. President, you have sent more weapons to Ukraine, as you said last night. Last week, the Pentagon paused some shipments of weapons to Ukraine. Did you approve of that pause?
We want to put defensive weapons because Putin is not treating human beings right. He's killing too many people. So we're sending some defensive weapons to Ukraine, and I've approved that.
So who ordered the pause last week?
I don't know. Why don't you tell me?
I think that's a question for the
Go ahead.
Mr.
Yeah.
President, on immigration, the Secretary of Agriculture did say this morning that undocumented workers would not be covered by any amnesty from working on farms. You had said maybe that the ISA folks won't go after those folks on farms. So which is it?
There's no amnesty. What we're doing is we're getting rid of criminals, but we are doing a work program. Do you want to explain that, please?
Yeah, this morning we talked about, of course, this was a top of mind question. This morning we talked about protecting the farmers and the farmland, but obviously this president's vision of no amnesty, mass deportation continues, but in a strategic way, and then ensuring that our farmers have the labor that they need. Secretary Chavez-DeRimmer has been a leader on this. Obviously, this comes out of the Labor Department, but moving toward automation, ensuring that our farmers have that workforce, and moving toward an American workforce. So all of the above.
We've got to give the farmers the people they need, but we're not talking amnesty. Laura, do you want to say something about that?
Thank you, Mr. President. On this, thank you, Secretary Rollins, how important this is never to displace the American worker. What the Department of Labor is doing is focusing on what the law entails now, being more modernized, more streamlining, to work through the H programs. We're going to have a concierge approach to that, where we have developed a new office to answer the need of our farmers and ranchers and producers, and not to displace the American worker, and follow within the law now, and that does not include an amnesty program at all. And we've seen that working, and we'll continue to have that roll out. On the other topics that we've somewhat talked about, the jobs numbers, Mr. President, 4 months in a row we've seen those jobs numbers increase. That's an exciting time for our manufacturers. That was asked earlier. We know it's going to take some time, but through that deregulation process that Lee and I are working on as well, the Department of Labor has rolled out 63 new deregulations that we're going to be moving through. In the first Trump administration, it was successful with over 30. We've just rolled out 63 new ones in order to double down on those manufacturing companies, to let them know that we have signaled through this process that we will assist them in getting the workforce that they need. It's an exciting time. That one big beautiful bill, that was the signal to my former colleagues in Congress to get this done. It's been an important time. I spent time on the ground visiting 7 states in 9 days prior to that bill being passed, because it was the most pro-worker piece of legislation that we will ever see really in this country right now. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security. That matters to the American worker, because we don't want to take their money and give it back. We want them to keep more of their hard-earned dollars in their pockets currently, and that's what they're excited about. And as I move forward with these tariff talks, I heard a company, orthopedic company in Indiana, say to me, for the first time since you have taken office, Mr. President, their increase in their bottom line by 8% since these tariff talks have happened. Not one company has said the president is not doing a good job. These tariff talks are working. They're feeling it on the ground. The media has told a false story, because what's happening on the ground is positive, and that's what we're seeing in these jobs numbers. So I really, through the Department of Labor, to come in behind all the secretaries and build this workforce is going to be key to the American worker. So thank you for what everybody did this last week. The one big beautiful bill is a doubling down of this, and we're going to see these workers start to grow. And that apprenticeship program is going to be working.
That's
we'll
right.
have that million apprentices across the country.
We, as you know, we're building plants all over the country now, which you weren't building any plants 4 years ago. You weren't building anything. But those plants, when they open up, it's going to be, you'll see numbers like you haven't seen ever. I don't think in history you'll never see numbers like what we're going to see in the very near future. Many of them are building the plants Some are just starting right now. You know, it's a brand new administration. But, and they wouldn't be here except for two things: November 5th, the election, and the tariffs. And frankly, I guess the election was more important because of the tariffs. I mean, another person wouldn't have done this. But they're coming in because of the tariffs. They have to, they're not going to pay 25, 30, 40, 50%, 70, and 100%. And we'll be announcing something very soon on pharmaceuticals. We're going to give people about a year and a half to come in, and after that they're going to be tariffed if they have to bring the pharmaceuticals into the country, the drugs and other things into the country. They're going to be tariffed at a very, very high rate, like 200%. We'll give them a certain period of time to get their act together. But they were all here, now they all left. They went to other places because we allowed, people that sat in this room allowed it to happen. And I don't allow it to happen. The people in this room don't allow it to happen. So we're going to be announcing pharmaceuticals, chips, and various couple of other things, you know, big ones. We did steel, as you know, they're 50%. We did aluminum, 50%. Lumber just came out.
Why don't you announce copper?
And we did cars. And now, today we're doing copper.
What would that tariff be on? The section tariff?
I believe the tariff on copper, we're going to make it 50%.
50%.
Any breakthroughs on
See, I'm glad he didn't question because I sort of thought, what would that be? That was a quick one. I didn't have much time, but he agreed with me. That's why he's Howard.
Any breakthroughs on Gaza with the Prime Minister, and there's reports that you're meeting with Netanyahu again tonight?
Yeah, I am. He's going to come over again tonight. We're talking about Gaza, or mostly Gaza right now. It's he's been very unfairly treated. I think what they've done to him in Israel is very unfair, having to do with this trial. I think, you know, he's a wartime prime minister, had an unbelievable outcome, and I think he's been treated very unfairly. But he's coming over later. We're going to be talking about, I would say, almost exclusively Gaza. We got to get that solved. Gaza is a tragedy. It's a tragedy. And he wants to get it solved, and I want to get it solved, and I think the other side wants to get it solved. Steve, could you talk on that, please?
We're in proximity talks now, and we had 4 issues, and now we're down to 1 after 2 days of proximity talks. So we are hopeful that by the end of this week, we will have an agreement that will bring us into a 60-day ceasefire. 10 live hostages will be released. 9 deceased will be released. We're meeting at the president's direction with all the hostage families to let them know, and we think that this will lead to a lasting peace in Gaza.
And you're doing a good job. It's a tough one. It's a tough one. A lot of hate, you know. This is called long-term hate, but we think we're going to have it solved pretty soon. Hopefully, with a real solution, a solution that's going to be holding up.
And can I follow up? This is, I think, the first cabinet meeting since Elon Musk has not been a special government employee, not here anymore. He's now saying he's going to create a third political party. Are you worried about the impact that could have?
No, I think it'll help us. It'll probably help. Third parties have always been good for me. I don't know about Republicans, but for me.
Are you second guessing any of the cuts that Doge made since you
No. Look, we cut hundreds of billions of dollars with Doge. We could have done it differently. I would have done it differently a little bit, maybe, but it was something that we saved a lot of money. You can always second guess. I guess some of the people in this room maybe would have done it slightly differently, and some would have done it exactly the way it was done. But it was dramatic, and it was important, and we found a lot of things like billions of dollars given to people for environmental protection, where they had $100 in the account, like in Atlanta, Stacy. And then you had another one with 20 billion here, and 20 billion here, and 2 billion here, and 15 billion. And Lee, you might want to mention just a couple of those things. We really got because of Doge.
At the Trump EPA, the one big beautiful bill was filled with many big beautiful wins for the taxpayer. It delivered a sledgehammer to the Green New scam. Billions of dollars rescinded. So it's a big deal for the American taxpayer who sees money go through pass-throughs that are filled with self-dealing and conflicts of interest. They see unqualified recipients. They see reduced agency oversight, and they want accountability with their tax dollars, and they got it. In the example of the Stacey Abrams connected NGO, they received $100 in 2023. They got $2 billion in 2024. They had to complete training on how to develop a budget that was put into their grant agreement. They, out of nowhere, started paying a CEO $800,000, a COO $450,000, 22 people making over 150 grand. Out of nowhere, this is tax dollars. So money go through pastors, through other pastors, through other pastors, and we lose oversight over it. And you see that it's going to former Biden officials, it's going to former Obama officials, it's going to Democratic donors. And we're not here saying we want to take money from a left-wing NGO and give it to a right-wing NGO. We want to give it back to the taxpayer. This is about us being good stewards of American tax dollars without any apology or regret. That's why President Trump was elected last November. Because there were a whole lot of people who maybe they hadn't voted Republican in a long time. Maybe they didn't even vote for President Trump the first time around in 2016, but they're regretting that vote from 2016 and they were making it right in 2024. So the One Big Beautiful Bill gave us the tools to rescind billions of dollars more. We're seeing hundreds of thousands of dollars that'll get wasted per electric vehicle as an example of this money that was going through it. They gave $50 million to a group called Climate Justice Alliance. They say that climate justice runs through a free Palestine. The Biden EPA gave $50 million to a group that says the climate justice runs through a free Palestine. We say that if you're going to spend $1 in the name of remediating an environmental issue, then spend the dollar on remediating an environmental issue. We say that we can protect the environment and grow the economy. We want to help grow more baseload power in this country. So why is it that it took this long for this team to get assembled, to be able to fix the mess that we inherited? But gosh, we love showing up at our jobs every single day, first thing in the morning, because all day long we get things done for the American taxpayer. And Congress did its part last week by passing the One Big Beautiful Bill to deliver this accountability and to cut off the Green New scam. So maybe it's a bad day for Stacey Abrams. Maybe it's a bad day for all those well-connected Democrats getting paid off. But you know what? God bless America. Because at the end of the day, President Trump is here, J.D. Vance is here, and the greatest cabinet ever assembled to deliver that much-needed and highly demanded accountability.
Well said. That was a very good answer. And that's from the heart. That's from the heart.
The Ukrainians have asked the International Court to go after Russia for using toxic chemicals in the fight. Germany and Germany and the Netherlands have had intelligence saying that. What does U.S. intelligence believe, and what do you believe about the use of chemical weapons? And would you agree that that's a case for the court?
Well, that's John maybe to discuss it if you'd like, John.
Well, Mr. President, obviously chemical weapons, if it's documented and its use, it's illegal. It's against all international laws of armed conflict and treaties. And obviously I can't share in this room with this audience the intelligence that I can share with you privately, but obviously you're not going to stand or allow for any violations of international law by anyone.
That's right. Thank you. Could I ask Sean to Department of Transportation, Sean Duffy, former great congressman, very popular, decided to go out and make a couple of bucks. He made a lot. And he got bored with that, though. He likes serving people better, the people. And could I ask you to just discuss a very important subject to me, and that's the modernization of our equipment at airports so that planes aren't crashing into each other and bad things don't happen. It should have been done many years ago. We were going to do it, and then the election precluded that, unfortunately. But we're doing it now. Could you tell them where we are?
Yeah, if I could start with Newark. You guys all covered what happened in Newark. We had outages for a couple of 30-second outages a couple months ago. We have, in 2 months, Mr. President, it's historic speed, laid new fiber lines for communication and tested those in the next month. So those new lines for the Philly Tracon that controls the Newark airspace, they're up and running, lightning fast speed. June was the most on-time June ever in the history of Newark for air travel. So that's going incredibly well. By the way, we shouldn't have dealt with this because Joe Biden and Pete Buttigieg had moved the center from New York to Philadelphia. They didn't test the lines. They didn't do the work. which is what brought us all these problems. But in the big beautiful bill, we got $12.5 billion. This is a historic investment in air traffic control. And so what the money is going to allow us to do is move from copper to fiber all over the country. So new copper lines. We think we can do that in a year and a half to 2 years. We have radar that dates back to the 1950s, some of it from the 60s and 70s. We get brand new radar across the country as well. We have some infrastructure money to build TRACONs and centers, the en route centers that control the traffic across the country. So this is a massive new start to rebuild air traffic control. And again, this is dilapidated. Americans think that their government takes care of them and makes the investments that are necessary to make the country work. And for 30, 40 years, the investments weren't made. And so under your leadership and direction, we are making those investments. And per your direction, right now we are interviewing what we could call a general contractor or an integrator. One company to manage. It's a massive project. The FAA is not qualified to manage this kind of a project. So we are now going through the process of finding who that one company will be to manage the whole project. We'll interview those companies together and make that selection. So we'll write one big beautiful check to one beautiful company that'll be responsible for this this whole build. But if I just make one last point, this is not enough money. We're going to need more. But this is a massive new start. The biggest investment. We'll need some more money on top of it, but a great start from the big beautiful.
It's a starter.
It's
very important to us. And just to cover that, there have been accidents, and my pilots, I would often hear them say, "Oh, good," and they would use a different system, a different country to land in New York. They'd use the radar and other things from a different country. I said, "What's that?" He said, "Oh, our system is so bad." And I knew that. We were all set to start. And Boudette Edge came in, and what they did was so crazy because they hooked it copper into fiber, into steel, they had all different systems. They had hundreds and hundreds of contractors, different contractors for different airports. They spent billions of dollars, and they made the system worse because you can't hook copper into fiber. It doesn't work that way. You just can't do it. It's not doable, but they tried to do it. Didn't work out too well. And in the end, it was just a complete disaster. We want to have one great company. Now, Raytheon's going to bid, IBM's going to bid. We have 5 or 6 bidders that really are good and do this stuff. And we want one, because I know about overruns. I look at the railroad out in California, headed up by one of the worst governors in our country, who I used to get along with actually, but he's just, when you lose 25,000 houses and you would have had your cities burned down. If we didn't step in, Los Angeles would have been burned to the ground. But you look at that, and I said, I really know how to build, and you got to have one guy, one contractor, one great one, whether it's IBM or Raytheon is good, but you have 4 or 5 that are really, really great, and they're all bidding against each other. But you don't want to have one doing the wire and one doing the digging and one doing the demolition and then they're all saying they all blame each other because they're saying they were late and therefore you have to pay me millions of dollars more money. I know the system so well. And we're going to have a great company do the whole thing. We're going to get a fantastic price. Maybe we'll get them, they're very big and very strong, and maybe we'll get them to make a contribution toward getting it done at the right price. But we're going to have a great system. When we finish, we will have the best system on earth, done by one of the 2 or 3 best companies. There are only a few companies can do this. This is not. But if you would have seen what this other group did, they were going crazy. They had, I heard 3,000 contractors. And then when it all came together, guess what? It didn't work. It's a disaster. So we're going to have in a pretty short period of time, it's going to take us about 2 years to build it. And we'll have a contract given out probably over the next couple of months. We have some great bidders, some great companies that want to do the job. You're going to have great air traffic control.
Can I just make one last point on this? So the last administration signed a contract with an American company to fix the copper to fiber, and that contract was a 15-year contract. The system is failing today, but that's how idiotic and incompetent the last administration was. And under your leadership, we're saying, listen, we don't have time. We don't have 15 years. We don't have 5 years. We have to do it right now. And so the president always talks about on time and on budget. We have embraced that. We are going to be on time and on budget. And by the way, you mentioned a train out in California. Stay tuned for, probably give us 5 days and you'll have an answer on what's going to happen with the $4 billion that we potentially have invested on a train that's going to go nowhere. It's going to be $120 billion that'll never connect San Francisco to LA. Again, the last administration wasted so much money on projects that never work. If you're going to have high-speed rail, you're going to invest billions, we should actually have high-speed rail in America, not boondoggles that fund political friends and allies and family
They have
members.
from San Francisco, inside of San Francisco to inside of Los Angeles. Should have never been built because airplanes do it better. And you could drive it. You could drive it. No problem with driving it. The roads aren't even crowded. So they were going to do this, somebody's idea. Somebody got paid off a lot of money and they started it. It was going to cost a very small amount of money. And it ended up costing literally hundreds of times what the original. And now what they did is they said, well, going into the city is too big a deal. So we'll leave it 25 miles short of the city. So now they're leaving it. They're not going to finish it, really. It's not the same project. So now they're leaving it outside of San Francisco and outside, short of each. They just want to get it done. And I've never seen cost overruns. You know, if you have a cost overrun of 10%, you should be ashamed of yourself. 20%, you should not do any more jobs. This is a cost overrun of 2,000%, something like that. It's unlimited, and it's not finished. And maybe it will never get finished. And I told Sean, look at it from every standpoint, but we don't want to, you know, we have federal money going into that, and it's like throwing it out the window. So whatever you can do to stop it.
$15 billion and not one track has been laid. $15 billion and we're 16 years into the project, not one track.
Mr. President,
on New York, you're the most prominent Republican in the country from the city. What do you want to
anywhere else?
I
don't want to be a wise guy. Perhaps I can. Maybe Marco.
But how do you want Republican voters in the city to vote in the upcoming mayoral election? Should they vote for Eric Adams? Should they vote for Sliwa? Should they pick someone else?
Look, number one, you have a communist running, and you shouldn't vote for him. He's a disaster. He's leading. He's got the Democrat nomination because that shows you where the Democrats have gone. He actually wants to take over the grocery stores of John Catsimatidis, who's a great guy, a rich guy, grocer, does a good job, wants to take over. He actually called me the other day. He's concerned his stores are going to be taken from him, and they won't be run like John runs them. Believe me, he runs a good operation. But he actually said he wants to run his own grocery stores. No, this is a man who's not very capable, in my opinion, other than he's got a good line of bullshit, and he's convinced them to go with him. Now, as you know, Cuomo, who does have capability, is running, but he got knocked out, and now they're running as, you have Eric Adams, the current mayor, you have Cuomo, and you have Curtis Sliwa. And Curtis runs every 4 years. He seems to be a fixture on the running scale. But you know, it's I'm not getting involved. But I can tell you this: I used to say we will not ever be a socialist country, right? Well, I'll say it again: we're not going to have. If a communist gets elected to run New York, it can never be the same. But we have tremendous power at the White House to run places when we have to. We could run D.C. I mean, we're looking at D.C. We don't want crime in D.C. We want the city to run well. Susie Wiles is working very closely with the mayor, and they're doing all right. I mean, in the sense that we would run it so good, it would be run so proper. We'd get the best person to run it. The crime would be down to a minimal, would be much less. And you know, we're thinking about doing it. To be honest with you, we want a capital that's run flawlessly, and it wouldn't be hard for us to do it. And we've had a good relationship with the mayor, and we're testing it to see if it works. But New York City will run properly. We're going to bring New York back. I love New York. You know, I loved New York for a long time. Then we had a bunch of crooked people in there. You have an attorney general who's a total stone cold crook. New York State, Letitia James, a total crook. All they do is want to go after political opponents. They do what's ever expeditious for them. She's the one that took out Cuomo because she wanted to run for governor, and then she ended up getting 1% of the vote. She polled at 1%. She dropped out, went back to Attorney General. You have a lot of crooked things going on in New York. We're going to straighten out New York. Maybe we're going to have to straighten it out from Washington. But when I see a communist who has actually gotten a Democrat, pretty much gotten a Democrat nomination, they also went to that new form of voting, which is a beauty. You go in there in third place, you come out in first. That's that form of voting that they have gone to. You know what I'm talking about. It's not too good. We're going to do something for New York. I can't tell you what yet, but we're going to make New York great again also. We're going to make it great again with the country. What we've done in this country in the last 6 months, nobody has ever seen it. And I told the story, the King of Saudi Arabia, I was over there. They gave us $5.1 trillion between Saudi Arabia and UAE, Qatar. 3 stops, $5.1 trillion coming into our country as an investment, biggest investment ever made. And it's all going to good stuff. I mean, all real big, good stuff. Energy projects, big, big things. But they all 3 told me essentially the same thing. We thought your country was dead, and now you've got the hottest country in the world. We're right now riding the hottest country. We all, and you can all be proud of it. We're in the hottest country. This is the hottest country in the world. There's nobody close. Made hotter by some great pilots and great machines that nobody else has. Those great, big, beautiful machines, they rode those machines right into the toughest territory. And nobody knew what the hell happened. And then they hit their targets perfectly, and it was complete and total obliteration. And that's why that war ended, Steve. They told me that's why the war ended. The war ended when they saw that, it was over. And we're very proud of it. But we have the hottest country in the world right now, from a country that was close to dead. And if I didn't win, if you would have had the other person win, we all know who she is. Whether it was she or Biden, they're the same. He may have been more competent than her, and that's hard to believe, right? But if you had that ideology in, I don't believe you would have had a country anymore. I think you would have had a country that was broken up. But we had a dead country. Now we have the hottest country in the world, and everybody knows it, and everybody said it. Mr. Vice President, do you have anything to say?
Well, thank you, Mr. President. I just want to say that I'm very proud of the whole team. I think everybody has worked together. You see Pete and Marco and Steve working on some of the diplomacy, Christy and Pam working on the border. We just have a really, really solid team, and we've done a lot of good work. And in particular, I want to congratulate the White House staff led by the president on getting the One Big Beautiful Bill passed. Yeah. I was personally skeptical, sir. I never told you this, but I was skeptical we'd be able to get that thing done by July 4th. We did it because we worked together and we worked very well. So it's an honor to be a part of it, but I'm really proud of you guys for doing a great job.
The beautiful thing about it, it had something for everyone.
That's right.
Most people said it had to be broken into 7 bills. It's so big. The problem was that some of those 7 have nothing for anyone, but they had to be done for the country. You know, sometimes you have to do things for the country that aren't necessarily popular. We had a couple of them, and that wouldn't have worked. So the One Big Beautiful Bill, many people said it could never be approved. Too big, too everything. There's too much. But it had something very big and very important for everyone, and it's great for the country. And remember, the Democrats have come up with a false narrative, you know, just whatever. It's just a line that they send to everybody and that they print. I think in the case of this, it's death, death. Everyone's going to die. I heard that. Everyone's going to, just the opposite. Everyone's going to live. What we're doing is saving our country and making it much bigger, better, and stronger than it ever was. I'd like to ask, Marco's been doing such a great job. Do you have anything to say?
Well, it's just going through a list here, Mr. President, and I think the Vice President's pointed out to the great team you have, but and all these achievements that have happened domestically. But you think about it, under your leadership, we prevented and ended a war between India and Pakistan. NATO's now at 5% for the first time ever, the highest numbers ever. A peace deal between the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda. A 12-day war that ended with an American operation that we're the only country in the world that could have done. hopefully pretty soon, a peace deal between Azerbaijan and Armenia. The entire Middle East and the infrastructure of it has the potential now to change because of Syria and Lebanon, and it hasn't even been 6 months.
Sure.
It hasn't even been 6 months, so it's a great testament to your leadership in this team.
Well, thank you very much, and you've done a fantastic job. Could I just ask Linda, she's involved in so much, she's so talented and so good, and she's working on a couple of little things like Harvard, who was given $5.5 billion over a short period of time. We caught him on that one, that's crazy, but you're working on so much, you want to bring education back to the States. How are you doing?
Well, absolutely, and thank you for the opportunity. I think on the big, beautiful bill, what we saw, with school choice, this funding on a national basis at the state level, but there are opportunities now for scholarships more and more often for kids who are in schools. It's going to be a big turnaround. I think one of the biggest accomplishments we had over the past week was the University of Pennsylvania with the Title IX ruling that Leah Thomas was stripped of her title. Riley Gaines and Paula Scanlon and other women who have stood, so strong against men and women's sports. And when you put out the executive order, that just solidified and gave them the opportunity. So those are a couple of really, really big wins, and thank you for that opportunity.
And how are you doing with Columbia and Harvard?
We're negotiating hard. I think we're getting close to having that happen. It's not wrapped up as fast as I wanted to, but we're getting there.
Okay, good. And you've done a fantastic job. Thank you very much.
You've been a good team.
Yep, you have a great team.
Around this table, a lot of people have helped with that.
That's right. Thank you very much. Maybe just in closing, we spent a lot of time, effort, very little money on this room. This is called the Cabinet Room. It's been here for a long time. And it had some pictures that were not many of them and not very good ones. And I actually spent time in the vaults. The vaults are where we have a lot of great pictures and artwork. And I picked it all myself. I'm very proud of it. That's Andrew Jackson, great Andrew Jackson. That's a gentleman named, and we call him President Polk. He was sort of a real estate guy. He was, people don't realize he was a one-termer, but he was a very good president. But, and I'm not sure I should be doing this, he actually gave us the state of California. He was the one. He was the one that hooked it up. So I'm not sure, maybe he won't be there for long. But if you notice, the frame is the exact same size almost as the other one is Andrew Jackson. So that was a part of the reason too, I have to be honest. But Polk was actually a very good president who's got the same frame that I needed, okay? And up here you have the original George Washington right behind the light. And then you have Dwight Eisenhower, who was a very underrated president, built the interstate system, and he was the toughest president, I guess, until we came along. But I don't mind giving up that crown, because I don't want to be too tough on it, but we want to be humane. But he was the toughest president on immigration. He was very strong at the borders, very, very strong. And sometimes you can be too strong, though. He was strong at the borders, and during a certain period of time, they were so strong that almost every farmer in California went bankrupt. And we have to remember that. We have to work together. We have to remember that. But he was a very good president and a very good general and a very good president. And I thought he deserved a position somewhere on this floor. And then you have, this is very exciting to me, he was not a Republican, to put it mildly, but he was, he was a four-termer. He was Franklin Delano Roosevelt. And if you notice, there were a lot of ramps outside. We have ramp, people say it's an unusual place for a ramp. It was because of him. He was wheelchair bound, but he was an amazing man. It's an amazing portrait. And we used to have him in the room, a different portrait, and it was a terrible portrait. It was almost like it was done by a child. And I used to say, I can't believe that he would have approved of that portrait of himself. And I was in the vaults and looking at things. I said, what's that? And we have some great curators here. We have 6 curators at the White House. They have 2 for paintings, they have them for furniture, they have them for different things. I guess cost is no object. Okay, cost is, maybe I'd have 1, but that's all right. But we have 6, and they're very talented, though. And he said, that's a picture of FDR. I said, really? Let me see it. They took off the wrappings, very well preserved. And I said, that's the picture they've been looking for years. That was the picture of Franklin Delano Roosevelt. And I said, oh, wow. And likewise, that frame-wise, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work if you have, I want to be nice, but it doesn't work if you have a big frame, a little frame, but it's like perfection. I'm a perfectionist. The mirror was down in the vaults also. I said, where is this from? And it's a very old, very storied mirror, beautiful. We put that up. And then over there is Honest Abe Lincoln. And that picture was in his bedroom. And we thought that this would be a very important place because this is where wars are ended. I'm not going to say wars are declared. I'm going to say wars are ended, okay? We'll be positive. And that's the picture of Abe Lincoln from his bedroom, sat in the bedroom for many, many years. That was his favorite picture of himself. And the Lincoln bedroom's very famous. You remember when Bill Clinton had it and he rented it out to people. Okay? We don't do that. But it's an incredible room. And we took that picture from his bedroom. That's Abe Lincoln. And then over here you have John Adams, and it's they were the first occupants of the White House, 1800. And John Quincy Adams, Mrs. Adams, they were the first occupants. So we have them looking at each other, and in between their stare is Abraham Lincoln trying to make peace. And that picture was in a room that I have that was not important, like the cabinet. I gave it up. I said, I have to give it up because that's one of the greatest pictures in the White House. The White House is tremendous art. And the Oval Office, when we're there, we'll go over that. That's really been something. Then we got the drapes, and we got the whole thing. We got new drapes. We got new, wasn't a big expense, very, very small. And we took some of the chinaware and silverware and trophyware, they call it, from the vaults, and we had it cleaned up. Hadn't been shined up in 100 years. Some of this has sat in the vaults for over 100 years. Amazing. Over 100 years. Many of the pictures that were put up in the Oval Office, as an example, those two as an example. So he was president. They moved in 1800, and he won the election, I believe, in November of 1800, John Quincy Adams. And we thought that would be, he was considered to be a good president, and he was the first occupant of the White House, so it sort of made sense. And I love the frame of those pictures. Look at those frames, you know? I'm a frame person. Sometimes I like frames more than I like the pictures. And we have the flags of the Marines, and Space Force now has its own flag. I'm very proud of Space Force, but the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Space Force, the whole thing. And Coast Guard is right there. We never forget the Coast Guard. They do a great job. So we have the flags throughout the office. And it's really become quite a beautiful place. I don't want to tell this, Marco pointed it out. I was going to leave the clock. So as president, you have the power. If I go into the State Department or Department of Commerce or Treasury, if I see anything that I like, I'm allowed to take it. Do you believe this? So I'm in Marco's, I see this gorgeous clock, grandfather clock, and there it is. I said, Marco. He didn't know about it. I had to read him the rule and regulation. I said, Marco, I love this clock. Look at it. It's beautiful. He said, what clock? I said, the clock that's in the other room is incredible, and nobody gets to see it there. Marco, I tried to talk him into it first, and it sort of worked, and then I had to use a little more. I said, I'd love to take that clock out and put it in the cabinet room. He said, no, are you serious? I said, Marco, I have the right to do it, Marco. And he said, all right, what the hell? So that's his contribution to the cabinet room. But it's, by the way, it's an incredible clock. And, you know, it's an important room. So you may see it again. Maybe we'll move it back someday. Anyway, so that's pretty much it. But it really is great. Here we put out, you know, these lamps have been very important, actually. Whether people love them or not, but if you see pictures like Pearl Harbor and Tora Tora Tora, you see movies about the White House and where wars are being discussed, oftentimes they'll show those lamps or something like those lamps, something that looks like them, probably not the reals, because I don't think they were allowed to. This is a very important room. This is a sacred room. and I don't think they made movies from here. You never know what they do. But they were missing medallions. See the medallions on top? They had a chain going into the ceiling. And I said, you can't do that. You have to have a medallion. They said, what's a medallion? I said, I'll show you. And we got some beautiful medallions, and you see them. They were put up there. Makes the lamps look better. So we did these changes, and you know, when you think of it, the cost was almost nothing. We also painted the room a nice color, beige color, and it's been really something. The only question is, will I gold leaf the corners? You could maybe tell me my cabinet could take a vote. You see the top line moldings, and the only question is, do you gold leaf it? Because you can't paint it. If you paint it, it won't look good because they've never found a paint that looks like gold. You see that in the Oval Office. They've tried for years and years. Somebody could become very wealthy, but they've never found a paint that looks like gold. So painting it is easy, but it won't look right. And the question is whether or not we should gold leaf it. Linda, do you have an opinion?
I gold leaf it.
You like it the way?
No, I gold leaf it.
You'd gold leaf it?
Yeah.
Who would gold leaf it? Could I raise you? How about, would you gold leaf it?
I was going to ask about McKinley, one of your favorite presidents.
Well, McKinley was a great president who never got credit. In fact, they changed the name of Mount McKinley, and I changed it back because he should have been. The people of Ohio he was the governor of Ohio. The people of Ohio were very happy when I did that, I heard. They were very insulted. They took the name of Mount McKinley off. That was done by Obama a little while ago, and I had to change it back. I changed it back. He actually was a great president. He was a president, he was the tariff, the most, I guess, since me. I think I'm going to outdo him, but he was a tariff president. He believed that other countries should pay for the privilege of coming into our country and taking our jobs and taking our treasure. That's the way he explained it. They took our jobs and they took our treasure, and for that they should pay. And he made them pay, and he built a tremendous fortune. In fact, in 1887, they had the Great Tariff Committee was set up in 1887 because our country had so much money, we didn't know what to do with it. And they set up a committee of, as they called them, elites, a term that we have to change because I think a lot of the people that are elites aren't elite. I think the people that aren't elite are elite, so we're going to have to maybe switch that around somehow. But they had a committee that was set up to spend the money because it was such a large amount of money. At that time, it was nobody had seen anything like it. And it all came in from tariffs. And people didn't pay tax. There was no income tax system. I told you that came back in 1913. That came back and lived well for a while. And then you had the Great Depression. And then later they tried to bring back tariffs, but the whole thing was, this was after the Depression. That was one of the great misconceptions. Is people like to say, "Oh, but it was during the," but no. The country had a Great Depression, and then after the Depression, long after it started, they brought back tariffs to see if they could save it, but it took them really 25 years. When you say about 25 years to get out of the Great Depression, a lot of people don't understand that. But I thought it would be interesting for you to get a little view of this room. This is a very important room, very powerful room, great room. And we've done similar, but even beyond this, in the Oval Office. We brought back pictures of some of the great presidents. Many of them were in the vaults for over 100 years. Originals all, beautiful, beautiful things. And rather than sitting in a vault downstairs for 128 years, I thought we should display that. And we did that, I think, in a really good way. We've gotten very high marks. But it's interesting. People walk into that room and they look around the room. They don't even want to talk to me. They could look at it for hours. It's funny when people come into the Oval Office. It's such an incredible. It's a sacred place. When people come into the Oval from the biggest people in the world, presidents, prime ministers, kings, queens, in one case at least, queens, and the biggest business people in the world. They walk into that office and. They say there's no place like this in the whole world in terms of the power. It's beautiful and all, but there are other beautiful offices. You have businessmen that have offices that are, full floors of office buildings with floor-to-ceiling glass, and they walk in there and they say, There's no place like this anywhere in the world. There's no place. And, you know, it's what it represents maybe more than the physicality of the room itself. So it's an honor to have you all, media. It's an honor to have you. I just want to say we have a fantastic cabinet. Every one of them is a star in my book. And if they're not, I'll let you know about it. I'll throw them to the wolves. I'll throw them to the wolves in 2 seconds, because our country comes first, right? But I just want to thank you all for being here. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, press, everybody. Thank you, press. Thank you, press. Thank you, press. Thank you, press.
I'll tell you some other time. Thank you.
Thank you, press.
Yeah, I will.
Thank you, press.